Hello folks, how you doing? And welcome to our channel and welcome to day one of the group healing, the generational family group healing. I don't like the word generational trauma, but it's what this type of healing is known for anyway. So, honest to God, I was just sat here and I was like, where to start with some of the insights that have come up during this session. Very, very powerful, hugely powerful. One of the things I will start with is a little story from this weekend. We were sat outside, and there's an old couple that just live there. And they came out, they had some guests, and they came out into the garden. I think there was three of them, so it's three women. I'd say they're into their 80s. And one of them started to talk about a family dinner they'd just been to. And it was non-stop chatter, okay? Um, and she was saying basically that this little child that was there was a meal and didn't finish their dinner. And they let the child, they as in the parents, let the child leave the table. And she said, well, I wanted on. I'd have kept him there until they'd cleared the plate. It just went on and on and on. And I was sat there getting more and more triggered by this. And then the other women joined in about how, they should be made to clear the plate. They should be made to sit there until everyone's finished. They should be made to do this. They should not be allowed to have something sweet afterwards. And I was just sat there and I said to Gary, I said, I thought we'd got beyond this as a collective. I thought we'd seen the damage that teaching and that mindset had caused with all kinds of things in relation to food. If you think about it, as a human being, sometimes you can sit down to have a meal and you just can't eat it. You just feel a bit sick or whatever. And if you think about children, especially the children that we've got now, they're going to be very different to us. They're going to have different eating habits, they're going to be doing life very differently. And the more that we have children, the more that we will see this compared to previous generations. And then they were just constant wittering. And then they went on to talking about, youngsters don't want to work nowadays. They don't want to do this. They obviously hated the world they've got right now. They obviously hated the world they've got. And one of the insights I've just had now is, and this isn't about blaming and shaming, it's about giving ourselves a reality check. If you hate the world you live in, or you're not happy in the world you live in, it is not the younger generation's fault. It's the one that's been here the longest. It's really easy to sit in your back garden, to sit in your family living room and blame children for the woes of the world, to blame the teenagers or those in their 20s or the millennials for the woes of the world. And as we get older, each generation has its role to play. But when we're going to children, especially children and teenagers, that's a problem. And we've all had those feelings of how, what is it, children should be seen and not heard and all of this. And then I came in and went online and I came across a post and I knew exactly what was going to happen with this post. It was somebody had put a picture of a school in the 1960s when it was snowing and a school now when it was snowing. And it had the typical, back in my day, we walked through the rain, the mud, the sludge, the ice. It was up over our heads. Nowadays they do this and nowadays that. And I can remember in winter when we had the conversation on this channel where I said that we were going to be living seasonally more and more. That when it snowed, rather than pushing through it and getting to work or school, it was going to be a retreat day. So all of these narratives, and I know that every single person on this group healing will have come across judgment from their older family members, will have come across cross behaviours. And this isn't about judging them because, as well, sadly, they pick it up from the previous generations. And what I'm trying to say with all of this is what I am saying to a child, to the next generation, is it big? Is it clever? And it's definitely not funny. And am I actually causing more pain in what I am doing? Is it just Aunt Sally that had this narrow-minded Victorian way of thinking about the world, and I'm still bringing it into 2025? And a big part of generational healing is nipping that in the bud straight away. and thinking, do you know what? How would I have felt as a child if somebody had said that to me? And at some point, somebody's got to say, you know what? I want to be an elder. I want to be a wise one in a group of people. And because the guides show me that as well, that as we start to evolve, more of the elder wisdom will come forward. A lot of the elder wisdom we've lost, but it's going to start to come forward as people start to realize and embrace age and embrace the wisdom that comes with age. Because again, we live in a false matrix that has encouraged people to view getting older as something to run from, something to hide. You know, you're referred to as elderly when you're meant to be referred to as an elder. It's just I mean, I could go on with this subject all day. So, how can we go forward from this is to work on being different. Because again, when you've been programmed by a powerful system, such as the Matrix, false Matrix, or a powerful family system that is ingrained in all of these old things, it's you re-educate yourself. This is where, you know, when people say it's time to reparent yourself, this is where reparenting is going to come in. Um, so moving on to today's channeling. You can work on that now going forward. Today's channeling, oh my God, I was getting so many visions throughout all of time. It was like one minute I was being shown like a Victorian lady having lunch with someone and an argument. The next minute I was being shown a little boy in America in the 50s on his bicycle and something was about to happen in the family. And then the next minute I was in Native American. It was all these different bloodlines, all of this different stuff, all of these different characters and players within the family tree stepping forward and showing us an element of their pain. You know, one minute it was in an asylum and then in a mother and baby home, and then slavery, all of it that lies within the family line. And one of the things that came through in the channeling was not to run from it, that ultimately we choose our bloodline, whether we like it or not. We choose the bloodline that we are born into, or bloodlines that we are born into, because it's not just one you see, it's many different bloodlines. And that the bloodlines are actually a core of the ascension process that is now on the planet. Yeah. So you're going to get all of your wisdom and experience and ascension tools, tips and tricks from your past lives, your current stuff that you're going to be facing and clearing, plus what's coming through the energies, the blood, the bones, the cells, the tissues. And this isn't about throwing shade, even like throwing shade at the conversation I was hearing. It's about hearing it, seeing it, and feeling the anger about it and acknowledging that I'm pretty angry. That I've just had to listen to that. And then thinking, how can I be different? How can I be different when my grandchildren come, or my great grandchildren come, or when I have children, or when I see nieces and nephews? Or how can I just be different going on into the world when I'm in a cafe and I see a child? Do you know what I mean? How can I be one of the ones that bring elder wisdom forward rather than it more issues to the table? And I think that that can be hugely powerful. And yes, within the bloodlines, there are many sad, 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 tragic stories, but that doesn't have to become us. They do say don't, the sadness, all the feelings pass down, but at some point, we've got to take that big deep breath and say, yes, we hold this sadness, but this sadness can actually lead to my happiness because I can learn from this sadness that going forward into my future incarnation and future incarnations, that I can be different. Just because you come from a bloodline that may be very dense and heavy doesn't mean to say that you can't transform it. In fact, there is much alchemy in transforming it. There is much alchemy in going forward and being different. Um, but also as well being thankful to those within the family line that, you know, like that conversation there. If I hadn't have had that conversation, not that I had it, God, oh my God, you know, let's not go there. I heard I mean, to be quite honest, they were talking that loud, I might as well have been in the garden with them. Had I not been part of that, listening to it, then we wouldn't be having this conversation now. And I wouldn't have been mindful of it as I'm coming to the channel in today about just a little few of the things that families are having to deal with now, um, in so many different ways. Um, we have to be better. We have to be better. And it's no good waiting for the next generation, because that's another thing. I remember a long time ago, I had a comment of someone, and we were talking about generational stuff. And this person put in the comments, I'm too old for it. It's not my responsibility anymore. It's the next generation that can sort this out. And I was like, my God, God help you. God help your family. God help those around you, because that is just the biggest load of bullshit I have ever heard. And I've had a lot of bullshit in my life. To actually say, I'm not dealing with it, you lot deal with it. And you get that a lot. You get that a lot in families where, like, if wills need sorting out, or just, I'm too old for this. I'm too old for it. Too much water's gone under the bridge. You can sort this. You can do sort this out when I'm dead. When I'm dead, you're just like, oh my God, biggest mistake you can make, because ultimately you don't get to escape your shit. Your shit will follow you until you face it, and it will keep following you until you face it. So the longer we leave it, the more we bypass it, the harder it becomes. It's almost like we've been programmed to be this stiff Victoria. Is it? That's interesting. Do you know what? I've had a bloopy this morning, and I apologise, because when I put the picture of the family tree up on my social media, I put a picture of lots of people in a tree, and it was a family tree. And I was like, because I'm on various different platforms and etc. I've got to post it across various different things. And when I got to the last one, I looked at it and I thought, bloody Queen Victoria there. What's Queen Victoria on a family tree for? So I looked up and realised the family tree that I'd used was the one for the royal family without the modern day members on it, which is what got me. And as I'm talking about the the Victorian ways of being and the problems that have come from that, it makes me realise why I had to put the picture of the family, which was the Victorian royal family, and backwards, because it wasn't about the royal family, it was about that horrible, toxic, patriarchal teaching that came from the powers that were at the time. That, children should be seen and not heard, the smacking of children, the punishment of children. It was all about let's get the children rather than adults looking at themselves. They do say, don't they, when you have to go into, you've actually lost the plot. You've actually lost the power to actually really lead a situation with love. So interesting because I was like, have I got the time to go back and get another family? And I was like, no, it'll just have to stay there. And I do know that many people follow me have researched their family lines and are related to monarchy lines and stuff. So, and aristocratic lines. I think we all possibly are, to be honest. So interesting. What Victorian teachings, Tudor teachings, medieval teachings are we still perpetuating? Are we still carrying on without even realizing it? It's a lot, isn't it? So the deck I've been guided to use today is actually called The True Love Oracle by Belinda Grace. So dealing with all of this with grace. Because it's generational trauma healing, I know that word trauma, but anyway, um, the body will feel this at some point, be it before this healing, during it, or after it. Your body at some point is going to have to go on a big old purge. So, again, like with previous healings, diarrhea, urination, sweating, the pain body, anger, resentment, absolute exhaustion, sometimes feeling really wired and I've got loads of energies and I'm going to woo the world and everything's amazing, to a big slump. So when you're experiencing this, be it during it, before it, after it, or in the next 2 weeks after this session, please bear that in mind, that you're in the purge and the release. The more that you can be present with healing, the more that you will get out of it. A card for this group healing. Wow. Wow. The distorted masculine and emotional freedom. It's exactly what I've just been talking about. That's the old patriarchal energies that everybody has come across and been part of and spewed out at some point. Eat, sleep, rave, repeat, how it should be done. You should be doing this. That's not how it's done. That's not how we give birth. That's not how we conceive. That's not how you bring your children up. You do this job, you do your house. I mean, some people have this off the scale, you know. You shouldn't be doing that job. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be living like this. Consume, consume, consume. Sacrifice yourself, even like sacrificing your time with your children so you can earn more money. This is it coming up big time. Also, as well, because this energy doesn't come from the children that are here now. This energy doesn't come from the teenagers that are here now. This energy comes from those in their right, 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, slightly into the 20s. Okay. So honestly, this is a time to look back at your life and think, actually, I know I've been part of all these narratives. I want to be different going forward. Not what I can do about the past, but what I can do is bring that wisdom forward and be a different version. There's so many stories, isn't there, of children that have gone to grandparents' houses that have been scared to even breathe, or parents' houses, or whatever. And it's an uncle's houses, family functions that can be stressful. This is huge. Should we do a parting of the deck? You know, I love to keep rolling with cards. And manifestation. Again, this new vibrant energy. How can I, as an elder, a crone, a hag, a wise man, a wise woman, whatever, actually birth this and embrace this within myself as well? The younger individual, the younger inner child, the inner teenager, the inner 20s, inner 30s, 40s, however old you are. Why would you want to stop this, the next generation thriving? Why would you want to keep grandkids in this suppressed, shitty energy? Yes, I am swearing and feeling passionate. Why would you welcome that for your grandchildren? Why would you want them to be in an eat, sleep, rave, repeat mentality? They also, as well, can be jealousy that can come from resentful. I mean, we could go on with this forevermore. When you see them having the youth that you possibly didn't have, having the choices and the itchy noses, the choices that you didn't have. When I leave this planet, how do I want to leave my corner of the world? More toxic, more chaos, more pain, or a little ball of wisdom that people go, she was a character back in the day, but he or she turned it around. He or she was one of the safe spaces in the family. You could have a decompress in front of them. You could, fart. You could leave a biscuit on your plate. You could say, actually, I've had enough of it, I'm full now. Oh, there's a lot there's a lot to come up for the collective. When I was sat here doing the channeling, because the grid's there, but there's also another grid here, I was like, whoa, we're in for it, but in a good way. Anyway, thank you. If you join this group healing, because this happens every group healing, I get the same thing. On the day or on the night of before the group healing, emails come in. How do I do this? How do I access this? You don't access anything. You watch this video as and when you feel drawn to it, and it's channeled to you throughout the day. Um, Go on the website to the group healing tab and it tells you some guidance and instructions. But apart from that, it's very, very simple. And yes, thank you for watching. Love to all. Enjoy the rest of this healing. Embrace the shit out of it. and make sure that when you leave this healing, you are on a pathway to becoming a better version of yourself. I know many of us people have been on a healing path for quite some time, but every healing you have now, it's leveling up, leveling up, leveling up, learning a bit more about yourself and where you've come from. Thanks for watching. See you later.